All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you to everyone out there, as always, for watching, for listening, however you consume Talking Buffalo. I do appreciate you very, very much. Big shout out to today's sponsor, Sunny Reds, 1841 Abbott Road, just down the way from Highmark Stadium. Dollar chicken tenders on Thursday, and I'm telling you, those things are the bomb. Go check out Sunny Reds, 1841 Abbott Road. All right, podcast version. This is Thursday. Video version. We're actually recording this live here about 7 p.m. or so on Wednesday night. I am joined. This was not something that was organized ahead of time. Kind of a last-minute deal. Joe from Queens, my normal Sunday Night Live partner, is with me again tonight, a family version. You're going to get the whole family experience of Joe from Queens. Dad life is in full effect because, A, he can't swear, which if you watch this show or listen to this show often enough, you know that's going to be hard enough. But also, you can hear young Joe from Queens in the background as well. So that's stopping him from having a beer, though, man.
No, I'm having a beer
dude?
for this. Anytime I have to talk to you, I have to have a beer to make it fun
fair.
because you're incredibly boring. I don't even know how you convinced me to do this tonight. It's embarrassing.
Wasn't easy.
It was embarrassing. I wanted $10 from you, and instead you offered me comp food that you're going to give to me allegedly. Oh, I'll buy you food. And yeah, fair. And I'm like, sure you won't. Sure you will.
You're not lying either, because the food, I said I'll buy you dinner when you're here in Buffalo.
Yeah, it's going to be from one of the sponsors, which I'll take, but it's not going to be from the heart. It's going to be from someone else's heart. But
to be fair, though, like I told you, alcohol is not included with sponsor stuff. They will provide food and dinner and all that other stuff. But alcohol, I got to pay for on my own. What are you speaking of? What do you got there, man?
Ooh, it's good. Distel Brewery. I've had this before. It's in Illinois. It's a Deadhead IPA. It's West Coast, so definitely a little bit on the hoppy side.
Okay.
Good. I like it. It is a 6.9% alcohol, which I'm sure is triple what you normally do with your Bud Lights or Mick Ultras or Miller High Life or whatever you drink.
No lies being told there.
Yeah.
So let me set the stage real quick here. On the video side, we are around 7 p.m. and the Bills' schedule and the NFL schedule officially has not come out. It's actually going to drop in about an hour or so from now. We are going to react to it because we know what the schedule is. I'm going to put it up on the screen, and we'll kind of go through it. I got some talking points that you and I will.
We're definitely risking it, by the way, everyone, because everyone's doing their little show at 9 o'clock or after.
Yeah.
And we're like, screw you. We got the pirated version, which that means I hope it's real, and we're not going to have to come back on here at 8:15 and be like, oh, hey guys, we're back, and you know there are no primetime games, and there's a Christmas Day game or whatever.
No, the schedule's 100% right. We're not doing this at 9 p.m. The Knicks are on. All right, let's just be honest with the people. All right, first and foremost, the New York Knicks are on. By the time people listen to this, they would have already won the series, or there'll be a game 6 in New York. I know that, but we're getting this done early that's a reason. Number 2, I wanted to do this live regardless, and there's going to be a million other Bills content creators that are going to have reaction shows afterwards. So if you happen to be on social media right now and you stumble across this, you want to jump on and listen to Joe and I live right now before everyone else, that would be cool. Like I said, we usually kind of promote at least Joe's appearances anyway, the Sunday night 9 p.m. live shows on YouTube. So this was just thrown together. But a lot of stuff to get to. So like I said, the overall schedule is now out. If you're watching on the video side, I'm going to throw it up here on the screen. This is not the official version, as you can tell by the document. But this is confirmed, all right? It's confirmed. This is the Buffalo Bills schedule. We'll kind of go through some things. I've kind of dissected some facts and some thoughts. I want to get some from you as well. By the way, we'll get to it. You and I both nailed the home opener. So props to both of us. Pat on the back for us with that. We both said, and that was no gimme because there were a lot of rumors going around the internet over the last couple of days that it was going to ultimately be the Bengals who are going to be playing on Sunday Night Football. It was not. It was Sunday Night Football, but it's the Ravens. We'll get to that in a few. 5 primetime games for the Bills this year, including the Sunday Night Football opener. The first 3 primetime games are at home. The last 2 are on the road. 4 of the first 6 games for the Bills are in prime time. Weeks 1, 3, 5, and 6. It's kind of just like last year. There's 2 Sunday Night Football games this year, 2 Thursday night games this year. I hate that. 1 Monday night game that's at Atlanta in week 6. So there's your 5. And like I said, 4 of them come very, very early. The last one being a Thursday night game, week 12 at Houston. Anyway, before we'll kind of break this into like segments. Looking at the schedule, let's go to prime time right now. 5 games, which, by the way, we also both said the Bills would play 5 primetime games. So that's another thing on the prediction show we did Monday that we both hit on the head. What are your thoughts right now when you look at, well, let's just stick to prime games or prime time right now. 5 primetime games, 3 at home. The opponents, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the prime time, I had said I thought they were going to get 5, and they got 5. And I'm a little bit surprised at them being as early as they are in the season a little bit, because I would just always assume they would want them when it's cold out. If they do them in Buffalo, like you want the snow effect. It looks great on TV. You always hear that crap. It's not the case this time around. Unless, who knows with global warming, maybe we'll get a freaking storm in September or whatever the case may be, or October. But, it's interesting. Like, my whole thing is like, and this is a little bit off the beaten path. What I'm about to say is I was just thinking, like, there are always these moments where you have these like surreal, like, man, the Bills have come far moments. Like, I don't know, sometimes if you see like a Josh Allen in a commercial or the number 1 power rankings, the lead story on Sports Center. It's like, man, we've come a long way since the freaking drought and like 1 p.m. games. And then we'd be like the sacrificial lamb for New England on a Monday night game. And that was it. And you would go decades without them, coming to Buffalo for like the main game on Sunday Night Football, like over a decade. I don't even remember what it was, but like you see this and you see like 5 primetime games, and like a decade ago, you weren't seeing any of that. And now it's just one of those like, hey, look how far they've come. And, I like primetime games, in terms of, I've talked about being in Queens and watching it from my couch and not having to go out or anything like that. And, I guess I don't really get the butterflies when it comes to like the national people are watching us, but I know some people do. But yeah, I mean, I predicted the Atlanta Monday night game. I said that was going to be a dark horse, that was going to be a primetime game, because it was just, the way these schedule makers do it is they care. If you're a big market and you're even like mediocre, you're getting on primetime more than a good team that's in a smaller market. So I feel like that's a perfect game. It's, it's a big ass market, young quarterback, with Atlanta. And I think young quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks always sell and move the needle. But Miami prime time, it's a reverse from last year. Last year we went down there Sunday night. I think week 2 it was
Thursday. It was Thursday night.
Thursday night.
Just like it will be this week. But yeah, it was week 2 last year.
Yeah.
With the Bills.
Yeah. So they're coming here. So that's going to be obviously, an early division matchup. And that's, I kind of wish they would have done it in winter time. Them coming up here later, I think gives every upstater a chubby, in terms of, they're going to come up here and get in the snow. But
I think it's a fair trade-off with them, though. If you're looking at Miami from both ways, in a perfect world, you'd want them coming here late in the season because, they don't play well in cold weather. They also don't play well against good teams, period. But I think a fair trade-off is, if you're a Buffalo Bills fan and you live in Buffalo and you're looking to go to Miami and that's something you do every year, I would say that they're going there week 10, November 9th. Early November is a great, great, great time to go to Miami because it's still warm, but the humidity has died down. Hurricane season is pretty much over. So it's a really good time of year. Even if, you get into December, January, even in Florida, it's a little bit of a crapshoot. It's not always warm that time of year. So, early November, I think, is a perfect time to go there. Yeah, but these primetime games, 3 of the first 5 games the Bills play this year are primetime games, and all 3 of them are at home. And I'm a little bit surprised that 2 of them are against divisional foes, too, right off the bat. Like I said, Miami on Thursday night, and then you got New England in week 5 on Sunday Night Football. I'm a little surprised that that's a a Sunday night football game. Although it is early enough in the season that even if New England isn't that good, you're not going to know they're not going to be that good that early in the season.
So it's 4 primetime games, correct?
5.
What's the 5th one? Because on here it says
Baltimore. They got Baltimore.
Oh, right. Okay,
Sunday
I'm
night.
sorry. You're right. I'm sorry. The colors are messing me up a little bit.
Yeah,
Schedule.
the week one.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, it's crazy how many they're playing 3 at home under the lights. I mean, I off the top of my head, I can't. The last time I think they played 3 primetime games at home, I actually might have been a kid and went to those games when it was like the 93 season. They played Washington, the Giants, and I think they played Houston, because I remember I went to those games as a 13-year-old. But like, you get 3 primetime games at home, and that's just incredible. And it's going to be nice weather, so people don't have to worry about, we know that, look, when it hits December, people pound their chests out and all that, but we know if it's like 0 degrees out, a lot of people aren't going to the games,
right?
Or they're that's when the StubHub tickets go all the way down. So especially for night games, to have that, it's good. But like the beginning of the season, it looks very like it's a nice way to look at it. They're winnable games, and with those suspensions for the 2 defensive players, I think you couldn't ask for a better way to start off the season. In terms of the Baltimore one is obviously the tricky one, I think, of those first 6 weeks, whereas the other ones, I'm pretty sure they should win.
I just want to point out for anybody who might be watching us in the video side, I'm on StreamYard, which, by the way, this is going to be the final episode ever on StreamYard. But what I'm noticing that usually not there, people who like to comment, there'll be a live and there'll be another section. And I know you had something that you wrote on YouTube beforehand, but since we started rolling this, nothing's getting through. And we already got a pretty large crowd. And I'm sure, I don't know what's going on. It says can't post comments to some destinations. Again, this is yet another StreamYard issue and yet another reason why we will not be on this platform after this episode. I can absolutely guarantee you it's frustrating. It's always one thing or another. So anyway, people are having issues being able to comment. It's not that I don't want to see them or put them up on the screen. It's that they're literally not even getting through for some reason. Some of the YouTube ones might eventually get through, and if they do, I'll start throwing them up. But anyway, back to what we were talking about here, because most people are listening don't give a shit. Stretches for their first 5 games this year are at home. Conversely, they got a stretch where they're on the road for 4 out of 5 weeks between weeks 12 and week 16. So they got a 4-5 home stretch early. They got a 4-5 road stretch late. This is just some information. And again, this is not even official out, like with the league. No, the Bills schedule. We don't know the whole NFL schedule as of yet. But short rest games, the Bills obviously are going to have 2 because they're playing at home in Miami, or at home against Miami, I should say, week 3. Thursday night game, short rest. They play the Jets on the road. Before that, Miami plays New England at home before that. They're on short rest as well, so there's no advantage there. And then Houston, they play in week 12 on Thursday Night Football. They'll be short rested after they play Tampa at home, the Bills, before that. As of this recording, I don't know what Houston's doing the week before that, if they're playing on a Sunday or not. So there's at least 2 games where the Bills are definitely having short rest. In terms of extra rest games, some people care about that stuff. They think it means something. The Saints game in week 4, they'll have 10 days of rest, the Bills. The Carolina game in week 8, they'll actually be coming off their bye. And the Pittsburgh game in Pittsburgh in week 13, they'll be on 10 days rest. Are you a little surprised? Because the Bills, usually it feels like if a team opens at home, they close on the road or vice versa. This year, the Bills are opening at home, and their last 2 games, Philly in week 17, the Jets in week 18, are both at home. Are you a little surprised that both the opening and the closing are at home this year?
No, not really. I mean, I feel like maybe you're right. I don't ever think about, like the last 2 games are, on the road or at home. I sometimes think, I feel like that's happened before with them being on the road. I think for me, the interesting thing is they're closing out the stadium against the Jets. And funny enough, the first game ever at Ralph Wilson Stadium for a regular season was a Jets game. Was the Jets at the Bills. So
they're like, fun fact?
What's fun fact?
Because you brought that up, I got to go find it. I actually wrote it down. Where the hell is it? Yeah, fun fact for everybody who's listening to the show today. Joe just brought it up. The Bills opened the stadium back in September 30th, 1973 against the New York Jets. I actually had to write this down. The Bills won that game. You know what the score was? 9-7. No tutties in that game. Joe Ferguson, I care for you guys. I looked this shit all up, man. Joe Ferguson was 7 of 17 for 74 yards passing and an interception. And by the way, that was his first, he was a rookie, and that was his first start where he played the whole game of his career. Bob Chandler led the Bills in catches, 2 for 28. And naturally, the offense was paced by OJ. OJ ran for $123 on 24 carries. Of course, that was the season that he ran for 2,000 yards in 14 games. Back to your point. Didn't mean to interrupt you, but because you threw that out there, I had to get my offense in there. The Bills opening up the history of the stadium against the Jets.
Yeah, so the bookending it, for that, which I think is kind of, close out with the Jets, open with the Jets, which I think is pretty cool. Do you at all care about the possibility for that finale? Let's just say it's like last year where they're playing their backups and it doesn't matter. Does that bother you at all? Like for that to be like the finale? Like, I don't want to say bother. Bother's a strong word. Is that kind of like, would that be disappointing to you a little bit? That if they have their backups in the final regular season game against them?
I get what you're saying because of the nostalgia, the historic fashion of closing the stadium down, but I'd much rather them have their backups in if he asked me this in May because, that means that
it's over.
Locked into whatever they're locked into. They're not playing for anything.
It also means like more than likely they'll have a home playoff game. See, I don't really care about if you're going to have a home playoff game, then obviously that's going to be the last game at the stadium. Which to me tells me like, okay, who cares? You won the division, you're resting guys. Your last game will be a playoff game, which I think is much cooler. So like, that's kind of how I look at it. Like the last game
assuming they don't stink and assuming that they're not playing anyone at the end because they got nothing to play for because they've been eliminated and they don't want to risk Josh Allen getting hurt. God forbid.
Yeah. But like, I mean, it's interesting how that will work. But like I just remember like the Patriots' last home game in Foxborough was the snow game against the Raiders back in 2001. And then so like, you could, and that's a great game in their history, in terms of the Tuck Rule game or whatever it was. But yeah, I'm it's intriguing. The Philly game is like, I can't remember like a really like awesome game to end like to towards the end of the season like that. Like the Bengals game kind of comes to mind maybe a couple years ago, the Hamlin game, which was like a battle of the Titans. I think that was like the second to last game of the season, because then the next week they played the Patriots or whatever in the Heinz game. So that's an interesting thing with Philly, it being like a big collision course of like a Super Bowl preview possibly, for that.
Fun fact about Philly too, their last 3 games, the Bills are sandwiched in. They're playing Washington twice. They're playing them in week 16 and 18, and they're playing the Bills in week 17. So
that happened last year with the Bills in New England, if you remember.
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to be an interesting stretch for Philly. You talked earlier about the 1 p.m. games and how, back in the day, that's all they did is have 1 p.m. games. And you're not wrong. When all you have are 1 p.m. games, I remember saying, man, it'd be really nice for the Bills to have a primetime game or two or something like that. And now it's the complete opposite. Like I yearn for those Sunday 1 p.m. games. We talked about that. You busted my balls on the show earlier last week about that. Anyway, 1 p.m. Sunday, the Bills have 7 games on the schedule for 1 p.m. on Sunday. Potentially another one, week 18 against the Jets. Probably a really good chance, unless the Jets were being competitive and fighting for a playoff spot. That probably is going to stay at 1 p.m. So probably going to end up with 8 altogether. If you're a home tailgater like that, you like to get up early at the crack of dawn and be at the stadium, and you love those Sunday 1 p.m. games, week 4 is the first chance you're going to get because they're playing the Saints on September 28th. After that, the Bills don't have another Sunday 1 p.m. game until November 16th, week 11 against Tampa. And that might be it. And if it's not, it'll be the Jets all the way at the end of the season. So if you do like that early season warm weather during the day and getting up in the morning and partying in shorts and in a T-shirt, you're not going to get a lot of chances because, like I said, week 4, week 11, that's it.
My whole thing, I go back and forth with like the 4 o'clock versus 4 o'clock thing. Like I gave you my point of view of like why I like primetime games because I can watch them from my couch. But if I'm going to
Mhm.
games, I'd rather have a 4 o'clock game because you can pregame or tailgate earlier in the day. Like, I don't know about you. Like, I've done the getting up at like the crack of dawn and getting to the stadium at like 6 a.m. It's not fun. It's fun, but it's like, I'm too old for this. You know what? As
Mhm.
Murtaugh used to say. Uh, but like, you give me a 4 o'clock game, I can get there at 10 o'clock and have like 6 hours of,
Yeah.
hey, let's just. That's why I prefer, like, if I'm going to the game, I prefer like a 4
A
o'clock.
4:20, 4:25
Yeah,
game. Well,
yeah.
they got the big games this year. The big games for the Bills are those 4:25 pre-games. So they got Kansas City, which is week 9, November 2nd. That's a 4:25 game. You got Cincinnati, which is on December 7th in week 14. That's a 4:25 game. And you got Philly. Probably the 3 toughest games on their schedule, aside from Baltimore potentially. And that's 3 days after Christmas. So if you're looking for a good game against a good team and you want to have that time, you're right. By the way, a lot of people are starting to fill up in the chat. A lot of the regulars, I feel so proud that they've found their way to this show. Shout out like Big Papa Bills, Spin, a
Ralph
lot of those
Wilson's there
guys.
somewhere.
Ralph
I see
Wilson
him.
seniors lurking around. Yeah. Spin said week 8 is a 1 p.m. game. You're right, Spin, it is. However, that's on the road. That's in Carolina. By the way, I put up a sarcastic tweet about Joe Marino hosting All Bills Mafia in Charlotte because he lives in Charlotte. Mentions through the roof. Actually, some hilarious shit. Go on my Twitter and look through the mentions. Some funny ass shit. But anyway, yes. So you're gonna only get a couple opportunities to tailgate if you like doing that thing at home at 1 p.m. and you got 3 at 4:25. Then you got 3 because you got 3 primetime games throughout as well. Likely the toughest stretch. I wrote this down too. When I look at the schedule right now, weeks 12 through 17 are tough. You got at Houston. And again, who knows in May what the hell? Some of these teams may
Sure.
end up sucking or being better than we think. But right now, as we're recording this feels like their tough stretch. Week 12 through week 17. At Houston, at Pittsburgh, Cincinnati at home, at New England, who I've continuously have said I think they're going to be a lot better this year. At Cleveland, I don't expect them to be good, so they're the throw-in. And then at home against Philly. So that's, at Houston, at Pittsburgh, Cincy, at New England, at Cleveland, Philly. To me, that's their tough stretch. And on paper, they got a pretty easy stretch early on. After you play Baltimore, you're at the Jets, you're at home against Miami, you're at home against the Saints, you're at home against the Patriots.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah, it's interesting how the first part is easy. This Sal actually tweeted this like after the team's records after the Baltimore game. So from week 2 until week 6, the next 6 games after the Ravens game, the teams are combined that they from last year are 35 and 67, and none of those teams made the playoffs from the Jets until Carolina. Which, again, as you said, we don't know if some of these teams might break through or whatever. It's always the case, but it's a good start to the schedule. And then it gets a little bit tougher. If I look at these games, I know this isn't too I'm gonna ask you this: which one do you see will have the biggest rise, and which one will have the biggest fall off the top of your head? So which team
What
here is
team?
like, these teams are playing, like, who's gonna have like a bigger swing? Like, they're gonna be better than
we
what we
think?
think, and then there's gonna be a team that's gonna be worse than we think. Who's
Okay. I would say, which I think this is a tougher game that people are going to give credit for right now. I would say the team that I could see being on the rise the most, not counting the Patriots, because I do think the Patriots are going to be tough, competitive games, but we've already talked about that a lot. I would say Atlanta. I think Atlanta's got a bunch of weapons, a good young quarterback. They went heavy on defense in the draft. They got 2 impactful defensive linemen in the draft, and they're in a weak division. And we're not surprised me to see Atlanta be much better. The team that I think could potentially fall, I don't know about drastically, and I know people are going to call me a homer for saying this, but I think sooner or later the Chiefs are going to take a fall. They have to, man. They just, the last couple of years, they were outstanding. They were unstoppable, and then they started winning despite feeling like it was almost lucky, although they sure ain't lucky when they play the Bills in the playoffs. They're just better than the Bills in the playoffs, straight up. But sooner or later, man, something's got to give. Injuries, more injuries. Teams catch up to Andy Reid a little bit or Steve Spagnuolo on defense. I look at them and I just see them as a team who they're not going to. And plus, I think the AFC West is much, much better now. I think Denver's really getting there. I think the Chargers are going to be better. I'm not going to say the Raiders, but I could see there's a lot of dominoes And when I say fall, it's not like the Chiefs are going to go like, 7-10, but I could see them struggling to win, go 10-7 or maybe at best 11-6. So not
Yeah.
drastic, but I could see them.
Yeah, I'm never picking against the Chiefs, but that's bold for you. But I could see that too. Like sooner or later, someone's got to collapse. I would say I agree with you about Atlanta. I think Atlanta is a team on the rise. They got a lot of weapons. We'll see. You never know with a first round pick like they had gotten at quarterback how they're going to be. He could take a few steps forward. As far as a fall, Pittsburgh maybe. I mean, Pittsburgh made the playoffs last year, and it was like smoke and mirrors kind of, and I know they're going to have Aaron Rodgers there, maybe, but I don't have faith in Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. That seems like it's going to implode. So I could see them kind of taking a few steps back. And Cleveland, I know you crapped on Cleveland just now. Cleveland's interesting to me. I know they were bad last year, but they had so many quarterback issues, and I'm not going to say they solved them, obviously, but they have a really great defense. And they were 11-5 with Joe Flacco 2 years ago, and he's back there, right? He's the starter.
Yeah.
I think. I'm not saying they're going to go to the Super Bowl, but they could be.
I don't believe in them. And plus, they're JOK, that really good linebacker, is already out for the season. I'm not saying you're wrong. Let me do this. On the video side, I got to do this. Take a really quick 5-second break on the video side. Come back. Got a couple comments I want to get to and some other fun facts and things that I don't think are very fun about this Bills and NFL schedule as well. All right, I'm back here. Joe from Queens. We're live on the video side here on a Wednesday evening. Crowd is definitely still filling up. I love to see it, man. Thank you, everybody who is watching this live and, of course, listening to this sometime on Thursday. There's 3 things about this schedule. Actually, before I get to things that I don't like, somebody in the chat, I think it might have been Big Poppy. It was. He wanted to know what's your favorite game on the schedule. Like, what game has you the most excited on this schedule?
I'm going to go with the opener, because for me, it's a good way to see where they are. Because, when you, like last year, when they played the Cardinals, it's like, whatever. Like, it's the Cardinals. Like, it's hard to see where they are. And it was, because that was kind of a struggle, that game. Like, it came out in the final possession. At that time, I was still questioning them. Like, okay, well, the Cardinals weren't very good the year before. They're kind of a meh. And then they, it didn't matter probably at the end. But you're playing Baltimore, who, in my opinion, they have a lot at stake here. They got the revenge factor.
Yeah.
I think that game was very winnable for Baltimore in the playoffs. Like, they just had stupid turnovers. And that, I think, Sunday night, like, the opening, like, of the season, that just seems electric in terms of, like, opening the season on Sunday Night Football. Like, the market platform right there. We all know Sunday nights are like the big package for the NFL. I know it's like 50 packages at this point, but that to me is like the game I'm excited about in terms of looking at it. Yeah. It's the opener against a really, the openers have been kind of like the Rams opener from a couple years ago at the time felt big because they were the Super Bowl champions, but like since then it's been like, since they've been good, the Bills, they had the Steelers a couple times with Roethlisberger's dead arm. The Cardinals, they had the Jets, like they had the Aaron Rodgers game, like Aaron's first game where he blew out his ACL. This feels like a very big like collision course game. Yeah. So I'm excited about that the most.
Mike in the live chat framed it. The same question framed it. What is the Sunny Reds of this schedule? But obviously, big Sunny Reds guy here, sponsor of the show. I agree with Joe. To me, it's Baltimore. It's your litmus test right away. I think this is probably the first of 2 times these teams could play each other again, just like last year. Baltimore's going to be heavily motivated. There's no question about that. It kind of reminds me, a little bit of when the Bills played Kansas City in the regular season. Kansas City knocks the Bills out of the playoffs. The Bills are very motivated. Maybe they take the game just 5% more serious, or it means just 5% more to them, and that's the result. It's always going to be a tough game. Again, Baltimore, I'm very highly motivated. And personally, I prefer to play teams with, a lot of turnovers. So that's what I don't like. It's my favorite game, but I'm not. If I had my way, I don't know that I would want to play them early in the season because personally, for me, I prefer to play at teams that got a lot of turnover from the roster or coaching in the offseason, like early on. You know what I mean? That's not really the case with Baltimore. Pretty much the same dudes. It is just like it is pretty much like with the Buffalo Bills. It's a great matchup for the league. again, you very well might see these teams play each other again. It's not exactly the easiest setting for new guys like rookies like Hairston and TJ Sanders and Landon Jackson, but you could also say the same about Mike Green and Malachi Starks from Baltimore, their top 2 picks. Tell you one thing for sure, Joe, before I give this back to you. People in the chat, I'm sure you feel some kind of way as well. One thing is for sure, fans at 8:01 p.m., by the time you're listening to this, it'll be past that, are ready to start hating each other. Bills Mafia, Ravens flock, hate each other. It's very ugly. And now fans can start hating on each other for 4.5 consecutive months instead of having to wait during the season. Like if it's week 6, you're worried about all the other games so you get to week 6. Then it's Bills. Oh, I gotta hate the Ravens or gotta hate the Bills. They're the first game, so we got nothing but time for Bills fans are going to hate on Baltimore and vice versa for the next 4.5 months. So let the ugliness begin a lot earlier than it did last year.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled about that. I could care less about that. I hated it with the holy war between Lamar and Josh. I don't need.
You're going to get it again, and it's going to be longer.
Luckily, I'm not on Bill's X as much, aside from the promote this and quote tweet terrible politics stuff that everyone hates, including you. But let me ask you this: how do you feel about the Bengals game being later in the season? Because the consensus about the Bengals has been they're shitty at the start, but then they get hot. Like, now they're playing them at the end of it? Because that's a big game too. That's going to be, they are like the boogeyman, for the Bills a little bit, where they haven't beat them yet. Since Josh Allen's been good. I mean, they're 0-2 against them. They haven't played them like every year, but that's kind of a little bit of a test, or it's. Are you bummed out that you didn't get them earlier because that has been the consensus? That they've been better. They've been bad at the beginning and great at the end.
I actually, when you asked me earlier about who I thought would be the team that drastically fall, I considered the Bengals, but they weren't a playoff team last year. So I'm like, how much farther are they really going to fall? I'm concerned about that because Joe Burrow has been lights out against the Bills. He's kind of dominated the Bills defense, actually, to be honest with you. But they got no defense. They didn't have a defense last year. I don't think they have a defense now. Trey Hendrickson might not even be with them this season. I hated my least favorite pick, maybe of the entire draft, was the Cincinnati Bengals taking Jamar Stewart at 17. Dude's got 1.5 sacks for each of his last 3 years in college, and he was a top 20 pick. I thought that was really dumb. So I don't like the Bengals. It doesn't matter when we play them. I don't think that they're all that good. I'll tell you, there are 3 things about the schedule that personally me, and I don't know if people agree with that, but I think they suck. One of them I think most people would agree with. I hate that the bye's in week 7. To me, that's too early. And by the way, this is the 3rd time in the last 5 years that the Bills have had a bye in week 7. They had it in 2022 and 2021. So I hate that the bye is that early. I'd much rather have it around week 10 to 12, somewhere around that. One thing I also hate, but the Bills had this advantage last year. So in fairness, what goes around comes around. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to be coming off a bye before they play Buffalo on November 2nd. Last year, the Bills were on a bye before they played the Chiefs. So I kind of get the fairness of all that, but I still hate it.
I had looked this up. I had looked this up about the bye real quick for the Chiefs. Yep. They've lost 1 game since Mahomes has been their starting quarterback off the bye. It was actually it was 2 years ago. It was the Philly. You'll remember it was the Monday night game against the Eagles. They were they just came off a bye. That was the MVS drop pass. But they've won every game aside from that one. But I'm not surprised. I mean, they go 13-12. They win 13-12 games every year. So, but that's the only loss they had. Yeah.
And look, I mean, they're coming off their bye, so you can't really complain about the Bills having an early bye because, well, the Chiefs actually would have a 2-week later bye. But still, it's still relatively early. But I hate that. And then the other thing, which kind of transitioning away from just talking Bills here, Kansas City, Dallas, Detroit, they're playing on both Thanksgiving and Christmas. Now, don't get me wrong. I want to be clear. We talked about this on the show Monday, the podcast. I'm good with the Bills not playing on a holiday. I'm perfectly fine with that. We both agree that at least Matt Warren and I did. I'm not sure if you and I did. I think we did too. If they're not playing Christmas night, I didn't need to see it. And I told you I'm superstitious. I don't want no ACL tears on Thanksgiving. So I'm good with that. But spread the wealth a little bit. I just think it's wrong. especially if your goal, when you have these holiday games, I feel like your goal is to get more casual fans, casual eyeballs on the game, kind of like the Super Bowl. Like casual fans who don't watch a lot of football will watch the Super Bowl. Your goal is to get more eyeballs, maybe show a few more teams like Baltimore, the Rams, Chargers, Broncos, plenty of other appealing options. But yeah, I think the Broncos are going to be a good team.
They're
But
not.
anyway,
They're not. They don't have that. Go ahead with your
well,
diatribe.
I was going to say, well, Dallas sucked last year, and I don't see any reason why they're going to be much better this year. Why? Because they traded for George Pickens?
Well, your
Are you
boy
kidding me?
Dax is not. It might be healthy.
Who gives
So,
a shit? They're third
hate
best
him.
team in that division, dude. They're not better than Washington. They're not better than Philly. I get it, Thanksgiving, but you got to put them on Christmas too. Ditto with Detroit, man. And just give me some more looks. Kansas City.
Okay.
By the way, do you know Kansas City just set a record? First time in history. 5 primetime games in the first 8 weeks of the season. It's never in the history of the NFL happened before.
They are
Anyway.
must-see TV. I mean, well, that's the casual viewer because
Sure.
they get Taylor Swift's effect. I hear what you're saying about them being like on twice is kind of annoying, but yeah, remember these Christmas games just started last year. Or it has it for Netflix, and I don't know if Netflix. Think about this: you say the casual viewer, like Netflix. If you were to sit here and go, okay, who has Netflix? A football fan or the casual viewer? I'm going to say the casual viewer probably has a Netflix subscription over the football guy. So this is what they want is they want you at the end of the year to subscribe to Netflix. So they want their football fans to subscribe to that because it's the end of the year and they can tell their investors, look how many subscribers we had. It got an uptake. Why did they get an uptake in December? Because there was football on and fans want to watch that. Dallas is a must-see team. They are the most popular team in the NFL. I'm sorry. I hate them. I want them to die. I hate Jerry Jones, but they are the most popular team. They are the logo. They are the most popular team. It doesn't matter. People hate them. People love them. They're perfect. So I'm not shocked that they're on there. And in terms of Detroit's a good market, and they're kind of on the up, and they've been on the up for a while. So I think those are fine in terms of that. I mean, you said spread the wealth. They're going to care about the markets, and they're going to care about the appeal. Dallas is a must-see TV for most of these America. I know you hate them. I get it. Like I hate them too, but it's a hate watch along with people loving them. So
well, I get one holiday, but they have them on both. And by the way, you're right about your point was right, and it's well taken. That said, just so we're clear though, Kansas City's not playing on Netflix on Christmas. They're playing on Amazon Prime at night. But
that's still the same thing though. Like
I get your point's well taken. You're right.
The streamer guy, like I feel like the football fan isn't going to have as much. They're not going to have as Netflix. I think everyone does, but if you want me to ask, I think like the person, the casual fan, but they're all going to watch. I mean, it's taking over. Like the NFL has so much damn money. They're just kings.
I look at this schedule, and by the way, I'm going to put you on the spot at the end of this. We're going to borrow from Howard Simon, and Joe's going to pick the Bills immediately after the schedule. We'll go game by game.
I didn't see that note, but sure. Okay. I'll do it.
I purposely didn't do it.
You're a prick.
Again,
not only would you give me money
Howard
to be on the show.
Howard didn't invent it, but he certainly made it famous, or at least in Buffalo anyway. A lot of fun for people.
I'm missing bedtime for my son because you're back.
Well, we're going to be done soon. We're going to be done soon. Okay, but I will say this too. For me, a key to the Bills season is just after that Baltimore game, win or lose, the next 6 games after the Bills play the Ravens to start the season in Buffalo, they're against teams that won a combined 35 and 67 last year. None of those teams made the playoffs. And this is unlike last year where I remember this so well. It was expected the Bills were really going to struggle early because A, they lost a lot of veterans, and B, the schedule looked damn tough, which to be fair, it was. The Bills were only 3-2 after 5 games last year before they really went on a run. They lost back-to-back weeks. They got blown out in Baltimore, and they lost a close game in Houston, but they absolutely sucked in Houston and deserved to lose that game. Then they got hot. They caught fire. This year, right now, in this moment, as I look at this schedule on paper, and who the hell knows, how things end up playing out, but feels like a great chance to really get off to a very fast start and kind of put that competition away early in the AFC East, especially because they got New England at home, smacked them around when you have them on Sunday Night Football. But you agree, though, it's like this is last year. I didn't feel like there was as much pressure because I just don't think the expectations were that high with the Bills last year. But you look at this schedule early on, and it's like, there's no reason to not take like 5 out of your first 6 or something like that. You know what I mean?
So your question is what? Is there more pressure on them this year than it was in the past?
Maybe so, or just the opportunity to really,
I mean, I
just to
agree.
get
Look,
off to a big start.
as I said earlier, because you don't listen to me ever, but I said earlier that is an easy start to the season. And I think that's very good because of the suspensions of players. But also, I think there's always going to be pressure. When you have Josh Allen, there's pressure every year. And yeah, you're right. Last year, people like me weren't exactly thrilled with them and, thought they were going to take a step back, etc. But, and maybe you could say that, but they're always going to feel pressure. It's the NFL. You play, Sean McDermott talks about like someone saying like, hey, a guy comes to him on a baseball field and says like, you guys seem like you're happy with second place. And he's like, you don't know me. You don't know blah, blah, blah. So I feel like definitely there's always going to be pressure. But I think they can have a very good start. Like I said, there's no outside of Baltimore, there's no playoff team until November from last year. And again, things can change, blah, blah, blah. So
right. Well, I got to put up this one comment because this is actually funny from Spin 0481. He says, I will laugh if this league schedule is not correct. I will not be laughing if it. I am.
I will be like. I will be able to talk shit about the media for like the next 5 years if that happens.
To go live on a show with almost 700 people watching us live right now, not to mention how many people are going to watch us later once we go off the air or listen to the podcast tomorrow. Yeah, that would be.
I'm not coming on. I'm watching. I'm watching the Knicks. I'm watching you with my wife. I'm out.
Well, I'm not going to redo it. It's already out. That's the thing about being live. It's out there already.
Well, you could delete it on the video side.
All it takes is one person.
Oh, like someone's going to rip this off. We're not that popular.
Was somebody not watching? Different circumstance, far more serious circumstance, but was all it took was one person watching Trainwreck Sports a handful of years ago when Sully was on there and said a stupid comment. It took one.
Yeah, but they didn't delete the video. That's where they messed up. Like,
well, somebody screenshotted it because they did it, whatever, in real time.
Whatever.
Again,
okay.
I'm not comparing.
I'm
not comparing. It's completely different. What were you going to say?
Two things just to throw out there. The Bills playing 2 domes this year, Houston and Atlanta. They were pretty good in the domes. I mean, they scored 1 billion points last year against Detroit and the Rams. They didn't do good in Houston, but they scored 1 billion. Also, the weather after the Houston game, week 12, the weather could be a factor because you got Pitt, you got
absolutely.
So that all could be. And we've talked about the Bills and the weather. They're not, they're kind of Jekyll and Hyde when it comes to the elements. So
it's a good point. Actually, there's no real warm. Where weather definitely won't be a factor late in the season. You would expect it to be a factor. All those games, to your point, home and on the road. I mean, even the road games at Pitt, at New England, at Cleveland, definitely potential for a lot of shitty weather down the stretch. Before we get to Joe picks the Bills, to put a wrap on this, Ralph Wilson Sr. said your streaming service will drop you, Pat. That is, that's funny. Again, I know this schedule is right. We already talked about the Chiefs. First team ever to have 5 primetime games in 8 weeks. And they also play both on Thanksgiving and Christmas. I'll say this much about the league. Again, in May, prefacing this by saying in May, a couple of these teams may be duds come November. But on paper, it certainly looks like the holiday and the marquee schedules are filled with good games. Thanksgiving, you got Green Bay at Detroit. You got Kansas City at Dallas. There's a night game. I don't remember what it was, but I know it's a good game. Black Friday, you got the Bears in Philly. And then Christmas, Dallas at Washington, Detroit at Minnesota, Denver at Kansas City. Definitely a lot of fun games to watch. By the way, Miami Dolphins, I think you and I, most people don't think they're going to be very good. They've got 5 primetime games this year. And plus, they also play Washington and Brazil in week 11. Are you surprised they got that much primetime love? 5 primetime games for the Miami Dolphins?
5 seems like a lot to me for them. I mean, I would have thought 4. I mean, look, they were very close to making the playoffs last year, and I think them not having Tua for like a month didn't help things. Like they probably would have made the playoffs, to be honest, if he was healthy. I mean, I wouldn't think they were a threat, but you have to also, going back to what I initially said, it's about markets. Miami is a big, even though, like, look, Florida gets its rap of like not being a great NFL state in terms of like excitement, but Miami
deserves that rap.
Yeah, so you're right. But Miami is a big ass market.
Sure.
It's the biggest market in like the South in terms of Florida, like with the 3 other teams. So, but 5 does seem like a lot. I would have thought maybe 4, 3. But again, if you're a big market and you're goodish, mediocre-ish, you're gonna get more bang for the buck than like if you're another team. Like
you're right. You're right, but I just don't. I think you're kind of playing with fire a little bit. Because I mean they're 1-2 a hit away from who the hell knows. I don't remember who their quarterback.
No, you're right. You're right. You're
and they're just not that
right.
good even with him. They're just not that good with him. That surprises me. I got 2 things I wanted to point out. Then I got a question for you, and then we're going to finish with. We'll fly through because time's going to be an issue here. Joe picks the Bills. 2 interesting things on the schedule. That human scumbag Aaron Rodgers ultimately is probably going to sign with Pittsburgh. Okay, Week 1. Pittsburgh Steelers on the road against, take a guess who?
The Jets.
The Jets.
No.
Steelers at the Jets Week 1. And although, again, he's just stringing it along, sucking every ounce of attention he probably could, but shitbag Rodgers will eventually sign with Pittsburgh. I'm pretty confident in that. I'm not 100% confident, but 95% confident. So that could be a fun, otherwise who would give a shit about Pittsburgh and the Jets, but him going to New York in Week 1, that could be a lot of fun. And then the other thing, I always, because of Schoen, because of Dable, I always keep my eyes on the Giants. And this is truly a make-or-break year for them. I thought Dable could have gotten fired last year. They signed Russ Wilson. They signed Jameis Winston. They draft a quarterback. They move up to get one in the first round. Who knows how that plays out? But here's what I do know. Their start to their season, listen to this stretch to begin the season. At Washington, at Dallas, Kansas City at home on Sunday Night Football, the Chargers, at New Orleans, probably not a great opponent there, but then they're at home against Philly on Thursday Night Football, at Denver, at Philly. They could be like 1-7 or some shit like that. Brian Dable could be gone before the halfway point of this season. And I'm a big Dable guy, man. But
you love all those people from Buffalo. You're just a shill for everyone with Buffalo roots, except me.
RJ Melview on the live chat brought this up. I'm just so glad we dodge a Christmas bullet. Every year the threat of a Christmas game makes this not fun. I feel that way, and I also feel that way, especially I could deal with a holiday game. It was the international shit. I don't want the Bills to play an international game, and they're going to eventually. I'd say their luck's probably run out after this year where they'll have to next year. I do got a question for you, okay? And I don't want to call anybody out from the media. Yes, I do. It's John Worrell. People on Twitter, are having fun with this, okay? Some people are taking it very serious. Some people are just having fun. It's like a puzzle. You're trying to, get leaks here and match them up and see where you end up going. And at the end of the day, it's just a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. John Worrell, is the one, of course, who, is talking about, what's the difference, what does it matter if you know now as opposed to 3 hours from now or 8 hours from now? Is he going to make travel arrangements and hotels and get tickets? You're not going to do all that shit in a matter of, a few hours. And, it should be like, 20 years ago, I think he said where there was a 3-hour schedule review on TV. And he's not wrong because it did used to be that way and there wasn't leaks. Who cares, man? Let people like what they like. Do you have an issue with people who maybe they go overboard today on a day where you're trying to solve the puzzle, you're trying to guess who's going where, you're trying to find the leaks? Whether you're a fan who's going to travel, you're thinking about traveling to these games, or whether you're just a football fan and you're fucking bored and you want something to do.
I have mixed feelings about it, to be honest. I don't like when there's like rumors that are incorrect. Or like the stupid Josh Allen's going to be on the Today Show and he's not. Like they just beat that horse into the freaking ground.
Sure.
Those things kind of annoy me. But yeah, Worrell's always hated how how the coverage is for the NFL. So he's always tweeted like not liking how the draft coverage is, not liking how it's.
He's not the only one who
and
says that. There's
yeah,
plenty
but
of
I'm saying
people.
in general, and I kind of agree with that. Like there are things that the NFL just won't shut up about that they have to talk constantly. Like I talk about it, like how the content, like, you know, there is an off season, like people should just take a chill pill. But so I understand part of it from what he says, but yeah, overall, like who cares? Like what's this, you know, but I could have done without the rumors, but also the Josh Allen coming and not coming and all that stuff. But it depends where you're from. Like, you know, if Waro worked in talk radio, I'm sure he would love this because they've been talking about the schedule for the last 2 weeks on WGR. Every day you tune in, they're talking about the rumors and what do you think this is going to be? What do you think that's going to be?
This show too. Well.
So I think and like he's not going to write that shit. He's going to write one piece that's going to be today. Here's the Bills schedule, and I don't know, whatever the hell he wants to write. Whatever
you're right, but still, it's like let people just enjoy the shit. It was funny because it was the ultimate quote tweet. So it was Waro bitching about fans trying to put shit together or caring too much, and of all people, Mike Harrington quote tweets John Waro with the clapping hands emoji. I'm like, of course.
Harrington hates the NFL, and he's jealous that no one gives a shit about the Sabres schedule or anything about the Sabres. But whatever, that's how it is. I kind of get it, but.
Ralph Wilson, this schedule better be right. I just bought a train ticket on top of that to Arizona.
If we're wrong, he'll be quote tweeting this and being like, "You idiots, Waro."
This would be an all-time history of the podcast low to not have.
I'm not coming on. Yeah, I'm not coming on ever.
Although
again.
To be fair, I mean. Even if there was, there's not. But even if there was a game that was like the wrong week or something, they're still playing the team. They're still playing them on the road.
You're nervous right now. There's like 9 minutes left. As we're recording, it's 7:52. In 8 minutes, it's going to be released.
I'm not nervous, but people who are watching this on the video on live are definitely got me a little bit. They're trying to will it into me being skeptical.
I'll say this: the one thing I do like about the schedule, and sadly we're not going to talk about it, is I do love the videos that the teams put out. Yes. So I'm ready.
Somebody brought that up.
And I'm going to have to go on the Bills X to find that. But usually the Titans are always great with their stuff because they just do.
Chargers were
always, they do the anime. It's awesome. So, and the Bills ones, I'm not always, I don't know. They have like a $2 budget, it feels like. But yeah. So
I'm getting a kick because I know a lot of people are listening and can't watch what Alex Barber is this last year's or this year with the schedule. Let's end this by flying through, and this will be the first. Not the best. Again, we're going to give props to
look, everyone, I'm doing this on I will probably change my win-loss total. Like we will do in August, at the end of August, we would do a prediction show where we did that. So I could change it. Okay, so we're going to do this fast. Are you going to tell me?
100% knee-jerk reaction. The schedule just came out. Now we know the dates and all that. So let's go through. All right, week one, Sunday Night Football at home against the Ravens.
Loss.
Okay. Week 2 at the New York Jets, 1 p.m.
Win.
You ain't getting paid by the minute here, are you? Nope. Week 3, you're not getting paid at all. Week 3, Thursday Night Football at home, Miami.
Win.
Okay. Week 4, do I got to ask you this? New Orleans at home, Win. Sunday. They might be the worst team in the NFL this year, by the way, the Saints.
They're in trouble.
Yeah. All right. So we'll go to week 5. Sunday Night Football at home, New England Patriots.
Win.
Okay. Week 6, Monday Night Football on the road at Atlanta.
I'm going to say win.
Win. Okay.
Yeah. It'll be tough, though, that one.
Week 7 will be a bye. Week 8, Sunday, 1 p.m. at Carolina.
Win.
Week 9. 4:25 p.m. Sunday at home against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Win.
Ooh. I you know what? I bet you there's a lot of Bills fans that are secretly, if maybe even outwardly, hoping that the Chiefs beat the Bills because they're sick of beating them in the regular season only to lose them in the playoffs. I'll never root for the Bills to lose a game, but I bet you there's a portion of people that are out there like that. All right, let's continue here. Week 10, Sunday, 1 p.m. at Miami.
Win.
Okay. Week 11, Sunday, 1 p.m. at home, Tampa Bay.
Win.
Week 12, Thursday Night Football at Houston.
Loss.
You do know they don't have Stephon Diggs anymore, so you don't have to root for them.
Yeah, I didn't root for them to begin with. Shut up.
Week 13, 4:25 p.m. at Pittsburgh.
Win.
Week 14, 4:25 p.m. Sunday at home against Cincinnati.
They have to beat Cincy. I'm saying win.
Okay, win. Week 15, Sunday, 1 p.m. at New England.
I'm gonna say loss.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right,
I got them.
six.
I got them losing 2 games so far. They got to get another. That's gonna be a tough game.
Okay. That's fair. Week 16, Sunday, 1 p.m. at Cleveland.
Win.
Week 17, Sunday, 4:25 p.m. at home. Defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles.
Loss. That's a terrible matchup. I hate the Eagles against the Bills. I thought if they made it to the Super Bowl, the Eagles were going to crush them. So I'm going Eagles there.
Opening up those wounds. All right, week 18 at home. Who knows when? New York.
Yeah,
Jets.
I'm gonna. Yeah, if it's knowing the backups aren't in. I'm curious about. Yeah, that's weird because I'm thinking what if the backups are in this game. Because they
can't count on that though.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say I'm gonna say win. So I got them going
third. So you had them going 13-4 this season, with the losses being Baltimore at home in week 1. What was the other ones? You had at Houston, week 12.
Yep.
I'm missing one too.
Philadelphia. I had them.
You had them losing to Philly in week 17 at home.
I think it was that. I
got loss. Yeah,
I think I had.
New England.
Yes,
at New England.
You're right. Yes, you're right. Jesus
it was at New England. All right.
We're terrible.
So
we're professionals over here.
If that happens, 13-4, 2 home losses though. I will point out this schedule when you look at it, and this is nothing we're just learning today. We've known this now for months, but this schedule is much, much more significantly daunting on paper right now at home than it is on the road. I will say I love the fact, my favorite thing about this schedule, but again, it's not with today. We've known this. Almost all the best teams that they play are all at home. I would definitely say that for sure. Let's not forget the Bills quite literally did not lose a game last year at home. They ran through the regular season. They beat Denver and they beat Baltimore in the playoffs too as well. They were 10-0 at the stadium last year. But Joe predicts that's coming to an end literally in week 1 when they lose to the Baltimore Ravens.
I just
13-4 though.
Yeah, I think they're going to be 13-4. I mean, I have them, but those other ones. I mean, the one game I will say that I have no doubts they're going to lose is the Philly game. Like as of now, the Philly game, I just feel like the other ones. Yeah, I could definitely see it a coin toss with Baltimore and New England.
Philly's a bad matchup. As things stand right now, for sure, man. They're just so loaded all over the place. They're physical. Their defensive line can dominate without having to blitz. Philly's one of the more stacked teams I've seen in a long time. Cincinnati's not as good, but we have.
You know what? I want to change. Can I change my mind? Can I go Houston's going to win? I'm going to say Houston's going to lose that game because I forgot that they're kind of down to like one wide receiver now because the other guy.
Well, they've done a couple. I don't remember off the top of my head. Yeah. They did do something at receiver, but I'm not sure. I know they drafted. Oh man, it's going to drive me nuts. It doesn't matter.
Whatever.
But you can't change it anyway. The game's already been played. All right, that's going to do it too for this episode. Like I said,
I feel like we should see it because it's 7:59 as we're recording. I feel like we should just wait an extra minute. Why don't you tell me what's going on this week?
All right.
So I can look at Twitter and make sure we got everything right.
I feel what you're saying. Is it really 7:59 p.m.?
It's 7:59.
And know at 8 o'clock and 2 seconds later, the Bills are going to put out a schedule. Then we're going to have to go through it. I will shit myself if his schedule.
But that's the thing. We could keep talking then, and we could just be like, okay, let's go over the schedule again. So
all right, here it is. It's literally 2 seconds later it came out. All right, let's go here. Baltimore Jets It's right.
Okay.
Thank God. All right. It was week 7 bye.
That's
All
funny.
right. I just had to be sure, man. All right. So
We got
schedule,
the scoops, man. We got out there before everyone else
we
did.
outscooped everyone.
All the
we were
content
smart.
bros are out there right now, and we get to go to bed now, and we're good.
You guys can all fight it out in the chat who you want to go visit at 9 o'clock. This show is already in the can. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to do a pod bag, and then Sunday, Joe will be with me. Can I get this right? Joe will be with me live Sunday, 9 p.m. We got plenty of stuff to talk about, including, I haven't told you this yet, but Jordan Poyer had a pretty interesting interview, and I kind of want to go through some of that stuff. And
we're also going to go through like the best road trips. Like, what's the most interesting game to go on a road? And I will go through StubHub like I did last year and see what the ticket prices are like, because that's going to be
definitely. And I also think the schedule matters because, again, I might be a lot more willing to want to go to Cleveland in early October than I am at the end of December and 4 days before Christmas and things like that. So that might be a factor as well. But we'll do that Sunday. Like I said, pod bag tomorrow. Thank you so much, everyone. Almost 900 people watching us here live. Thanks to everyone who's going to be listening to the podcast. I will be back again. Brand new show, doing an episode of the Pod Bag coming up tomorrow. Thank you, guys.